Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with this morning's presentation about brewing beer in the Czech Republic. And you may not know, or maybe you do, but brewing beer in Czechia has a long tradition. You've heard of the Pilsner beer. It was developed there in the mid-1800s. The country that drinks the most beer in the world per capita is the Czech Republic. It has topped that list for 29 years straight since 1993. The Czechs drink on average 182 liters of beer per year per person. 182 liters of beer per person. That's almost twice as the second leading country, which is Austria, which drinks 97 liters per year.
Okay. So Tomáš will start.
Sorry for the technical problems. So I understand that the students receive my introduction. So I'm Tomáš Hraba, head of export department in Bernard Brewery. I only want to introduce you Jarda because he will participate on this presentation.
Hello.
And we are a little bit delayed. Because of that, after a brief Jarda speech, we will start immediately with the presentation.
Yeah, okay. So once again, it's nice to meet you guys. My name is Jarda, and I am the newest member of our export team. I was born and raised in Humpolec, in the city where our brewery is situated. And my career in Bernard started about 10 years ago, right after school. It was my first working position when I started on marketing department. Then for about 7 years, I was on sales department. And now for 3 years, I work on export. I appreciate on Bernard that that's a small company with only about 240 employees. We have quite a good relationships with each other, and that's why I am still in this company, because it can be maybe unusual from your point of view, but from my it's very good that I can still be the part of this team. I will switch to the presentation. So we wanted to start with some short introduction. That's what we have done. We would like to share some information of the Czech beer market in general. Then we will go for a Bernard Brewery history. We will tell you something about our ingredients and about beers which we offer. Then we will have some slides about advertisement, because we think that's also very interesting from our point of view. And we will finish with some export numbers. And then if we have time, some Q&As from your side. So I will let Tomáš speak again with something about Czech beer market.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you know a little bit about Czech beer industry. So as was mentioned in the beginning, we have in Czech Republic the highest consumption per capita of beer. It was 129 liters in 2019. I can say that our brewer has a goal that our beer will be not drink by only few people, but we prefer that a lot of people will drink only a few bottles of our beer. So we want to be a premium beer. So we are not so much looking for volume, but really for the quality. I have to mention that Pilsner was born as a style in Czech Republic in 19th century on 1842 in the city of Pilsen. And by the city, it's called Pilsner. It's very similar with another breweries. For example, you have American brand Budweiser, which is originally from Czech Republic, from the city, which is in German language called Budweiser, and the adjectivum it's Budweiser. So it's the same Pilsner, Pilsner. And you have a lot of examples from Germany, for example, Erding city, Erdinger, Warstein, Warsteiner. It's also very important to say that we are using protected geographical indication for Czech beer. This protection secure that the real Czech beers are produced only in Czech Republic. The producers has to follow traditional way of brewing beer, and also they have to use exact ingredients and respect the Reinheitsgebot with its purity law for brewing. So we can use only hops, water, yeast, and malt in production of our beer. This is a very important protection, because after some of the most famous Czech brewers were bought by multinationals, they started with production under license on many countries, which of course it's not the same quality of the product. And for these production under license, they are not allowed to use PGI Czech beer. I can say that we had, to some extent, I can say advantage that before the political change in 1989, in Czech Republic, there was only traditional production of beer. Because there was not enough investment during the communist times, but the quality of the beer was better than from the beers produced by multinational in massive production. I can say because of that, there was chance to decide whether the Czech Republic will, or the Czech beer industry will make the same mistakes as big multinational companies from Western Europe and United States, or if we will continue the traditional way of producing beer. To some extent, I can say there is a mixture at the moment, but there was a great achievement by the owner of Bernard Brewery, because he founded in 1993 Union of Small Independent Breweries, and the goal of this union was to reduce or differentiate beer tax for smaller brewers. They used example from the Germany. And I can say, because they succeeded in 94, it was decisive for the Czech beer industry, because from the political change in 89 to 95, there was bankruptcy of 35 industrial brewers. And because of that, in 95, there was only 45 industrial breweries. After this tax change, there was no bankruptcy of these breweries. But on the other hand, also the Czech beer industry the biggest players were bought by multinationals. So this is the reason why at the moment 45% of the market share it's controlled by Asahi, formerly SAB Miller Group. To this group belong Pilsner Urquell and other brands. 18% of the market is controlled by Coors Molson, with the most famous brand from their portfolio, Staropramen from Prague. And the third biggest group, it's Heineken with 13%. And they have several brands like Starobrno, Krušovice, and so on. So the rest of 25% is divided to smaller industrial breweries, and one of the brewers, it's Bernard, and we have approximately 2% market share. I should tell you more about the history of our brewery. It's important that the brewery was founded in 1597, but I have to say that it was a local brewery, so with not big production and with supplies in the territory or the surrounding on the brewery. Unfortunately, after Bolshevik Revolution in 1984, the brewery was nationalized in the following year in 1949. And we will show you on the presentation how the brewery looks like after the communist stewardship. And that was the reason why the brewery, because it was close to bankruptcy, was privatized in 1991 after the political change. But I have to say that the Czech co-owners bought the brewery in auction for 2.1 million euros, but the book value was 380,000. So because of that, experts in the brewing industry proclaim that the brewery would bankrupt in 1 year. It didn't happen, fortunately. One of the most important reason was that, as was mentioned before, Mr. Bernard established a union of small independent breweries, and they were able to agree with the government to reduce tax for small breweries in 95. And also it was very important that from the beginning the owners was concentrated on the quality production, so they were not competing with big brewers on prices, which is mad to compete in prices, but in the quality of the beer. So because of this goal, we were trying to control all production of the main ingredients, and this is why we bought in 2000 mold house in city Rajhrad, which is close to Brno. And next important date from the history of the brewery, it's 2001, when 50% share of our brewery was bought by family-owned brewery, Belgium Duvel Morgat. It was a very important decision by the Czech owners, because it was the time when multinationals came to the Czech market, and they started with aggressive support on Horeca. And also it was very important that our brewery, after this deal, was able to continue not only invest to Horeca market, but as well to our production. In 2001, our turnover was 3.6 million euros. We have 240 employees, including our mold house and sales team. And probably it's also interesting to say that in 2021-22 we open a new visitor center.
Mhm. I will continue with introduction of these two guys. These guys are our two Czech owners. On the right side is Mr. Vávra, who is our main brewmaster, and he's the, let's say, inventor of the whole recipe of our beer. And the second one is Mr. Bernard. It's why we are called Bernard, of course. And these two guys met each other in Ostrava brewery, actually by accident, and they became friends. And then in that year, 1991, they decided to buy that ruin of the brewery. And as a picture that it really looked like a ruin, I have some pictures where you can compare how it looked in that year 1991 when they decided to buy that very old-fashioned brewery, and how it looked now. So I hope it will work even with some technical problems. This is the first picture. Maybe. Not sure. Not sure if you can see it, but I hope so. This first picture is the main gate to our brewery, and even this building on the left side where we have laboratory and our economy department doesn't have 2 floors anymore, but from about 2 years back we have 3 floors. But I don't have any current picture, so if you want to see it, you just have to come to Humpolec and see it by your own eyes. On the second picture, there is a main yard where
Excuse me, Jarda, just a minute. We have only 10 minutes left in the presentation because of technical difficulties.
Okay.
Could you go to the advertising and marketing portion?
Okay.
In the remaining time.
Okay, I will do it very briefly. So this is a main yard, our brewing house, which is the most important place in every brewery, heart and the soul of every brewery. This is something what we wanted to achieve to become a very known and let's say iconic brand such as Zippo or Harley Davidson. Very briefly for ingredients.
Before marketing, I only briefly mention why our beer is tasting better than massively produced. First of all, we are not shortcutting production cycle. We use the best ingredients. Of course, water is the main part of the beer. It's about 80%. We are using our own wells, which are 1 kilometer from the brewery. So no water from the tap. Next ingredients, it's important. It's our mold house. This is the biggest floor mold house in the world. Again, it's more time consuming to produce mold this way, but the quality is different, and we produce Pilsner malt on our mold house. Next ingredients are brewing yeast. From 2014, we are using 2 different cultures, bottom fermented for lager, and we also started with top fermented brewing yeast. I have to say that both ingredients is yeast and malt we are selling to microbrewers because we consider them as co-workers, not as big companies, as competitors. The only ingredients we are buying, it's hops. It's from Rakovník, Žatec. From Žatec, Sas. So this is the best ingredients or hops in Czech Republic. Our beer, it's unpasteurized. We are splitting first and secondary fermentation, which is very important for a lager, Pilsner, Czech type of Pilsner, using horizontal tanks for maturing the beer. There are some main SKUs. I will mention only the first one, the celebration lager. So we started to use swing top bottles on 2002. The beer, it's unpasteurized, and it's unique that there is secondary for a lager, that there is secondary fermentation in the bottle. So maybe we can skip to marketing activities.
We have 12 Bernard pubs in Czech Republic, which is like our own franchise of restaurants. We have also Bernard stores where people can buy bottles of our beer. And now to marketing, we are not doing very similar advertisement as the big companies. We are doing it our own way. So for example, right here where we wanted to show that our beer is a jeweler, so you can see a few interesting pictures. Another one is quite important for us because when we edited the first swing top bottle in 2002, which doesn't need any opener to get in, we went with this advertisement on the left side hanging on a rope, and on the right side with the sign looking for a job in Pilsner and surroundings.
So we were challenging a little bit Pilsner, which is the biggest brewer.
And also this one is very popular, where you can see Mr. Bernard in the uniform of a guard against Euro beer, because we didn't want to have similar beer as any other. We are trying to find our own way to persuade customers that our beer is the real one and the better one from all beers they can buy anywhere. So that was for the advertisement. Now some numbers, but I don't think we have so many time. I will just briefly compare that in 2019, the last year before COVID, we were higher with numbers than we are right now. So we are fighting for the numbers before COVID time, and some of our best countries on export. We have the strongest partner in Sweden, where we are on a Systembolaget, which is state monopoly for selling beer. And that's actually very briefly all of our presentation. So maybe we have like 3 or 4 minutes for your questions.
Yes, any quick questions? I guess we can't get the beer in the United States. We would have to special order it.
Well, we have a partner on Eastern Coast. They are called Total Beverage Solutions.
They are located in southern Carolina.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have started the business in 2019 during COVID, and it's not developing according our mutual plans with the importer, because I have to stress that even transport has increased during COVID from 20 euros per hectoliter, so which is I don't
12,
know in barrels.
12 maybe.
And more than double. So even the transportation, it's really working against importation. And I can say that a lot of brewers which are exporting beer to United States are working with a big loss, and even importation of American beer, even some good quality like Lagunitas have been already replaced by production under license in Europe. So I can say the import business or export, it's quite struggling right now.
So I'm curious, with your business in Europe, how you market and try to get into those other the other European markets. What type of marketing, promotional, sales tactics you use to get into those other European markets?
Yeah,
from an export-import perspective.
Yes, so I can say we are competing on the quality of our beer. We didn't have enough time to explain about the quality, but I have to stress that our production cycle, it's about 40 days, and the big brewers, multinationals, are producing beer in 1 week time. So of course our production, it's more expensive. Our lagering, it's in special horizontal tanks under the degrees of 2 degrees Celsius, which is very expensive. And big brewers are producing beer only in vertical tanks, and they call this beer lager even when there is no lagering period, because even our first fermentation lasts longer than production of this multinational. So let's say, especially in Europe, Czech beer has a very good reputation, especially Czech Pilsner. There are not so many independent brewers who can make successfully export business, and we are cooperating with independent family-owned companies which have a good portfolio of beers. Especially we want our partners do the draft business. So I can say all these companies are working on their name, on their account, and they are responsible together with the brewery to set up a marketing mix in each country.
Well, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. They were on our end. You had no responsibility for that at all. We take the blame. So thank you for switching over to Zoom so quickly. You have given us your Facebook page. We'll all go on there and like it, so you'll get some more traffic from the US. But again, thank you very much. We wish we could arrange for a tasting of your beer now, but we couldn't figure out a way to make that happen. So a few people in the audience will be visiting Czechia in December. Hopefully they'll be able to sample some of your Pilsner beer then. Thank you again.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you too. Have a nice day.